Welcome to Emmy Knows, interviewing people of interest to the KU campus community. And now, your host of Emmy Knows, Emmeline.
You're listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. My name is Emmeline, and this is Emmy Knows, a weekly getting to know you featuring the people who help make KU great. In the studio with me today is Chad Ganley, Assistant Director of KU's Career Development Center. Thank you so much for being here. I think you are a guest that a lot of our campus audience may already be a little familiar with. I know for me, you've come to a few of my classes, given your borrow your phrase, like your elevator pitch about yourself, about
Absolutely.
the program. But I'm really excited to have the opportunity to talk a little bit more about your journey to Kutztown. To start us off, though, I'd love to know what's your main responsibility as the Assistant Director of the Career Development Center?
Awesome. Yes. So as an assistant director, I handle a lot of our employer relations, we'll call them. So assisting students make connections out to the real world for internships, obviously jobs, which hopefully you all will have by the time you graduate, if you're not going on to grad school right away, and making those connections for informational interviews, job shadowing, just anything to help a student really grasp what their major can get them. Many students come into college with an interest or a passion for a specific type of industry or a specific type of job, and then it is really in college is really your opportunity to figure out exactly what you're going to do the rest of your career. So just making those events happen on campus. Our office does a lot of events, including obviously the job fairs and anything related to getting a job. So we can really help you figure it out if you haven't yet.
That's so awesome. So as some people might already know, you were a recruiter before getting involved in higher ed. But like you were just saying, people go into college, they have an idea of what they want to do. So thinking back to your undergrad, did you always know you wanted to be involved in business?
Yeah, so undergrad, bringing me back, huh? Way back when, I was a business management major. So I attended Millersville University, pretty much state school right down the street from us here, an hour away. And I really thought, and I really loved the idea of business. And I mean, maybe my younger days, it was like all about making money, all about managing. And I grew up with a family who, ran their own business or were VPs and whatnot. So I just, those were my experiences.
Sure.
So I thought that's really what I wanted to do. Obviously throughout undergrad, and then into my first few career opportunities after college, I started getting and gaining new experiences and new passions. So one of the jobs I really enjoyed was professional recruiting, and it was my responsibility to assist. I was in a staffing agency where I assisted individuals find new career opportunities, typically to make more money or a career leap or a promotion.
Sure.
So I looked at a lot of resumes, went through a lot of cover letters, did a lot of interviewing, and I got to do some firing. I always joke about, which was actually very nerve-wracking doing that. But I really enjoyed helping, and what brought me to my next career path, or going back and getting my master's in higher education. So I attended Westchester University and went for a degree in higher ed and counseling. So I really liked the population of college students. Maybe I missed college a little bit. I had a great time undergrad, and I just liked the atmosphere. I just liked the mindset of college students trying to figure it out. And I just wanted to assist that population. So I knew I had this career background, and I knew in order to, get into the position of a career counselor or assistant director, I needed a higher ed degree. And I went back and got that, and here I am. I worked at a local community college for a few years. I taught some courses at a local community college, and now I'm at Kutztown University, and probably roughly 7 or 8 years experience in higher ed.
That's so awesome. So you sort of touched on, you liked the helping aspect of your, job in the, in the field of business.
Yes.
And then you decided to go to Westchester. How did you sort of decide to leave your position to go back to school, or did you leave your position? Did you sort of do both?
No, well, at this time it was 2008, 2009, recession time when the economy, the market wasn't doing as great as it was today. And when the economy and the market isn't doing good, guess what? No one's hiring. So working in the staffing agency was not going well, I would call it.
Sure.
My organization I worked for had layoffs. They laid off over half of the staff.
Oh, wow.
I made all the cuts. I was one of their better performers. But to me, I saw kind of the writing on the wall of, hey, what else can I do that would relate to this, that could fill more of my passion working with like the college students.
Sure.
So that's kind of what made me do some more research. I did some informational interviewing and talked with people I knew in my network, and kind of put A and B together to get me to where I'm at.
That's so cool. So you said Westchester, you worked around the valley a little bit.
Correct.
So can you talk a little bit about how you came to Kutztown?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Lehigh Valley. I'm a Parkland high school graduate, and I've always known about Kutztown. And the nice thing about the Lehigh Valley, there are a lot of colleges and universities around here. I think 13, roughly, in like a very condensed area. So I knew living in this area, there was going to be opportunities in higher education for me. I have a family here, my wife, and I have a little boy, so I knew I wasn't going anywhere, right? So knowing about Kutztown has always been, on the back of my mind. And then once I really got into my career, I networked a lot, being at professional conferences, which hopefully you all get to experience in your jobs. Take advantage of those. So I know for me personally, it was making some of these connections that when I saw this job at Kutztown, and I'm like, look, Chad, I want that job. I had a connection here that I reached out to. I'm not saying that they got me the job in any aspect, but I'm sure just giving my name as a reference, a recommendation, helped me get the interview, which obviously got me the job.
That's awesome. So now that we sort of talked about how you came to Kutztown's Career Development Center, I'd like to talk a little bit about the goals of that office. So on the website, their mission statement says that the aim is to educate students to enhance self-knowledge, design educational and career plans, and build connections to secure meaningful experiences. So can you expand on this a little bit and explain why it's important for students to, pay attention when you come to their classes?
Yes. Well, I like the joke. Obviously, we pick a university, or you're coming to Kutztown to be educated in a specific field. The end result is most likely, besides the education part, is to get a good paying job, or at least one that you're really passionate about, that you don't mind waking up every day and going to. The average age a college graduate is roughly 22. And then if you start to think about when you get to retire, it is a long ways away. So what the next 45, 50 years of your life, what industry are you going to be working in? Do you have a passion for that? Do you have a real interest to wake up every day, right? So we like to talk about the meaningful experiences you can get now to make sure you get into a field that you love and want to succeed in, and you have that passion. Because if you like going to work every day and either helping or assisting whatever platform you're working on, you're going to do better. You're going to succeed. You're going to be more successful. Which typically means more money. So I know a lot of you care about that. I know I obviously you need a paycheck, right, to pay for things. So you're definitely going to have a better, successful, more fulfilling, meaningful life if you do the little things now.
Sure. So you were talking before about the Career Development Center has workshops and things that students should go to, like networking events and such. So how do you sort of design these workshops and tailor them to fit different student needs? I know there's sort of sophomore programs or senior programs, etc.?
Yeah, so one thing we do a lot of is programming and events. I think our website, if you go onto our calendar, there's like 70 to 80 events a semester that students can take advantage of. So yeah, we tailor it to everyone. We want to make sure as a freshman or a sophomore, you're getting information about choosing a major if you don't have one already. That if you just picked a major, that what type of opportunities you can get down the line with this compared to, our junior and seniors, we're programming a little bit more towards, all right, how about an internship? Did you do one? Did you get credit for it? Do you know the process for that? When you graduate, what about interviewing? How early should you start submitting job applications if you need a job or want a job by the day you walk across stage? So we definitely tailor a lot of our events to the student through feedback, through things we hear, and then best practices through national organizations we work with to figure out what is new, what's trending, what do students enjoy going to. We don't like requiring you to come to our events. We're not a class. Like, you're not required to use your career development center, right?
Sure.
Maybe in some of your classes there are assignments attached to us, but you don't take a class called career development. I think you should, but you don't. So we try and just make all the options out there. For example, you'll see that we run workshops on salary negotiations. Know that you always have an option to negotiate your salary, potentially. So, but we never recommend going and trying to do that without knowing how to do that.
Sure.
You don't want to lose a job because you tried to negotiate an extra $1 an hour or $2, right? So we want to make sure you're aware of the process. So there's really cool workshops, events we run. My background, I also did the Disney college program, undergrad.
Yes.
So I'm a resource here at Kutztown that can talk to you about that. I do a few workshops a semester on the application process and what types of opportunities you get out of that, and then what are the benefits while you're down there. So I can definitely guide you if you're interested or you have an inkling of, hey, I like Disney. I could work for Disney in college for a couple months. That's awesome. So I can walk you through those. So if you don't show up to these or you're not, checking emails, you're definitely potentially missing out on some really cool opportunities.
That's so cool. I definitely attended one of your Disney program events. I did not go to Disney, but shout out to Disney.
There you go.
So I know another aspect of your position is connecting with employers to sort of give students opportunities with different companies. How do you sort of go about finding employers, and how do you decide whether an employer is worthy to be involved? Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is a lot of the employers I deal with are Kutztown alumni employees. So, and hopefully you all will be when you graduate. You're going to have this great connection as a Golden Bear to want to give back. I hear a lot from our alumni, recent alumni or alumni who graduated 30, 40 years ago who are in the field and have the time now to be like, hey, I'm more than willing to mentor or at least have a 5-minute conversation with any student looking into this field. So I obviously keep those connections around. They come to a lot of our events. We do networking etiquette dinners where our seniors are invited to attend a professional dinner. And at that table they sit at, there is either an alumni or an employer who has been around Kutztown a lot, who's hired Kutztown students, or who just has really good expertise in the field.
Sure.
So students just get to engage with them in a very non-formal way, which you normally don't get. So, we keep lists we have of our employers who attend things, and our students. I'm always asking students, what employers do you want to be in touch with? You give me a name, I will try and get a contact. I'll try and get them on campus. If you're in the MSU, we do a lot of information tables where employers can reserve some of those tables outside the lunchroom. And as you're walking to lunch or from class, you can just stop and say hi for 5 minutes. Oh, what does your organization do? What kind of opportunities do you have? So we really just try and make it easy for you as a university student when you're walking around campus to touch base and learn some really interesting or potential job internship placement ideas.
That's very cool. I've seen those tables in the MSU, but I've never thought that was a purposeful placement. That's awesome. So speaking a little bit more about employers and students, I know that two big events coming up are the Mock Interview Mania Week, which is the week after we come back from spring break, and then the Internship and Job Fair, which is April 1st. So touching first on the Mock Interview Mania, what is this and what is the benefit for students?
Yes. So Mock Interview Mania is one of our signature events, we like to call it. We do it every semester. It is a week-long interview practice time. So we bring, I think we have 38 employers coming back to campus that week, many of them alumni or at least a recruiting or human resource role. So we kind of vet them that you need to have experience. We say 3 to 5 years experience in recruiting, interviewing, hiring practices. And then they can come back. They set up 6 interviews a day. There's time slots. And each student potentially can pick one throughout the week to come in, do a mock interview for 20 minutes, but the best part about it is the interview then gives you real feedback. So there's no job attached to it. Mm-hmm. However, I will admit we've heard students getting internships and jobs out of these by staying connected with the individual they meet with and down the road getting that job. So the nice part about it for the students, it's really easy to sign up. It's through Handshake. If you log into your Handshake account, if you go to the Career Development Center website and find Handshake, you just click on the Open Interviews tab, and there's a bunch of time slots that would open up. So it's a week-long thing, so we try and work with your schedule, only a half an hour out of your time, but you do need to dress professionally. You do need to bring your resume. It's like a real interview. We obviously hope that you show up on time and you have a good practice interview and that you just get the experience. So the quote we always say is that it's like having the questions to a test before the real test, right? So if you could do that for every one of your campus, your tests at school, you would want that. So why not get that practice for a real interview down the road instead of your first dream job interview potentially screwing something up or messing it up because you weren't prepared correctly.
Sure.
Yeah. And then I think you said the job fair.
Yes.
Obviously, if you can attend these every semester, we do a internship and job fair every semester, and we also have an educators job fair for the teachers in the school districts.
Sure.
Once a year. That's over spring break, but the internship and job fair is April 1st this semester, 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. That doesn't mean you have to show up for all 3 hours. Mm-hmm. We just recommend all the employers will be listed. We have, I believe, 70 employers coming onto campus right here in the MSU to recruit for internships, to recruit for full-time, part-time jobs. But it's not just about that. So some students see that and they're like, oh, well, I'm not interested. I don't need a job right now. I don't need to figure it. It's about networking. Okay. All right. So these are the employers that will still be here in a year, 2 years potentially, right? 5 years that you may want to work for. And starting that relationship now, that's like networking 101. And I'm sure many of you out there right now found a job, your current job, by someone you know, assisted you there, or just said, hey, I knew you from blah, blah, blah. Would you mind working, right? So that's the same thing. You got to build that network. Connect with them on LinkedIn, all that thing. And down the road, it may be a really easy job promotion or a job for you.
That's awesome. I was actually going to ask, what are some of the benefits of going, even if you're not interested in getting a full-time job right now. Mm-hmm. I know I've been in the past, and I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So
it also gives you, and thanks for bringing that up, it gives you experience talking about yourself to, I won't call them strangers, but like a professional in the field. That you can, we talk about elevator pitches or your 30-second commercial. Can you professionally talk about yourself for 30 to 60 seconds about your career, what you've done, and what your goals are going forward? And the kicker is, does that set you apart? Would that, in my role as a recruiter, would that make me want to hire you or at least bring you in for an interview? So you have to practice that. You have to sound confident. Otherwise, you're going to sound very similar to the other 1,000 students I met that day, right? So really, really hone in on that.
So, talking about like elevator pitch and being able to promote yourself, what are some of the other best practices for students who are going to an event like this job fair? Like, what are things you should bring? What should you wear?
Mm-hmm.
How do you like take a deep breath before you walk in
Yes,
the room?
definitely. So a few things you've hit on. Professional dress, similar to Mock Interview Mania, you need to dress professionally. We recommend obviously suits for the fair, and you need to bring your resume and not just one copy. You potentially could be handing out 10, 15 of them, so bring a handful. Definitely get it reviewed by our office and as many friends or colleagues, classmates as you can beforehand, because one little typo, one little error could mean your resume ends up in the trash instead of getting a phone call for an interview. So get it reviewed before you attend. So that's kind of, just the basics. I think other things you may want to look into is researching the employers there more than just, Penske's coming or Enterprise is going to be here. More than just knowing a name, look into what their mission, their vision statements are, what type of jobs they typically have open, what majors they really like, and then if there's any alumni that you may know or can connect with that, I know that Chad did an internship here, like he told me really good things about it, blah, blah, blah. To have that connection that you can, build a relationship. Many recruiters are looking for a connection or a relationship to be built instead of just, here's my resume, give me a call.
Sure. And so can you just touch one more time? I know you said something about Handshake, but
Yes.
how can students register for these events?
Right. Yeah. So some events we do have a registration that you must register for. Others, it's just, there's an event on campus like the fair, just drop in. You can sign up when you get there type of thing. But Handshake is Kutztown's online platform that all Kutztown students have access to just using your single sign-on. It is loaded with job and internship opportunities. It's also where we post events. So if you're interested in what companies are coming and doing an info table this week, you can see who's on there. But you can also find the whole list of employers for each fair and then do your research that way. So if you just typed in the word Handshake on Kutztown's website, it's going to take you to our page or kutztown.edu/handshake. You're gonna come right there. I definitely recommend downloading. There's an app for it as well. It's very user friendly. I know it's not probably the coolest app that will be on your phone, but hey, if you have an opportunity throughout the day to check your phone a couple times, which I know most college students do, I would recommend that would be one of the looks I would take a look at. Just what's new, what's happening, what's going on.
That's awesome. So to wrap it up, this is week 6 of the semester,
Yes.
and like I was telling you before, I always ask my guests for their top tips for studying and living life as a college student. So, as someone who has had experience in the professional and the educational worlds, what is a top tip that you would like to share with our campus audience?
Yes, and I'll keep it broad, but then I'll break it down. So
Sure.
I was thinking about if I could go back in time, I would have definitely spent more time networking, right? Professionally networking in LinkedIn and figuring out as a college level student how that can benefit me down the road. In my role here, I meet with a lot of students, they're juniors or senior years, and when I mention the word LinkedIn, they're like, yeah, someone told me about that. I'll probably create an account one day. And I'm like, create an account now.
Sure.
So down the road, you can use it what it's meant to be for. If you wait, you're missing out on what LinkedIn is for, is to keep in contact or to keep your connections. Back in the day, we used to use Rolodex, we'll say, or keep Excel spreadsheets of people we contacted, or even business cards are kind of getting outdated now because of LinkedIn and other social media websites. So I'm sure, and I know college students are on their phones on, Facebook and Instagram and other social media, but LinkedIn should also be one of those. So just in general, networking, but really take advantage of LinkedIn, other platforms to help you stay connected.
That's awesome. So if anybody would like to get in touch with you, how can they sort of do that?
Yeah, so our office is located in Stratton, 113, first floor. We have an open door policy, obviously. You're more than welcome to come on over and just chat with us. We do walk-in hours for resumes, cover letters, every single day, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. But we also have other extended hours, different days. We do Sunday evening hours for those students who can't get to us during the week. Just look on our website. But we're in Stratton. You can also email us at careerhelp@kutztown.edu. Definitely follow us on social media, the Career Development Center. And my direct email would be Ganley, Ganley, @kutztown.edu.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Chad.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was great.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone for listening to Emmy Knows. I'm your host, Emmeline Nolan, and in the studio with me today is Chad Ganley. I'll be back with you on KUR next week with more of the people who help make KU great.